Good afternoon, everyone. Group 1 discussed Renaissance, which means rebirth, which characterized by the revival of classical art, literature, philosophy, architecture, and emphasis on humanism. Meanwhile, the group 2 discussed Renaissance art, which most of their works are depicted by religious images such as Da Vinci's Last Supper. In this lesson, we are going to discuss the work of Donatello and Michelangelo.
They are one of the major Renaissance artists that came from all strata of society, and they usually studied as apprentices before being admitted to a professional guild and working under tutelage of the older master. Who are they? Donato de Niccolo de Beto, also known as Donatello, born 1386 in Florence, Italy, son of Niccolo de Beto, member of Florentine Woolcombers Guild, and died on December 13, 1466. His, his, his works are inspired from biblical texts. Next. Donatello are known to his sasyato, ang technique niya sa kanyang pag-uukit. A shallow carving technique which no longer model the shapes but paint them with his chisel. Next. One of the most influential sculptors from the Italian Renaissance. Learned stone carving from sculptors in Cathedral of Florence. Dahil sa status ng pamilya ni Donatello, nakakilala siya ng isang local goldsmith na nagturo sa kanya ng metallurgy at fabrication of metals. Then, noong taong 1403, naging apparente siya ni Lorenzo Ghiberti. Tapos, tinulungan niya si Ghiberti sa paggawa ng bronze cathedral door. Then, natalo ni Ghiberti ang kanyang rival na si Filippo Brunelleschi.
What are Donatello's famous artworks? So the first one is this. Donatello's landmark work and one of the greatest sculptural works of the early Renaissance was his bronze statue of David 1440 to 1460. This small but exquisite bronze is one of the Donatello's most famous works. This work signals the return of the nude sculpture in the round figure because it was the first such work like in this over 1,000 years. It is one of the most important works in the history of Western art. It is a 5-foot freestanding bronze sculpture of David from the classic story David and Goliath. He stands in contrapostro, a traditional classical stance of bearing more weight on a one leg than the other leg. So, instead of being depicted as a powerful man, he is presented as a young, nude boy wearing a unusual hat rather with laurels, a motif of victory, and a pair of elaborately gilded boots. This statue was the first nude sculpture of male since classical sculpture from ancient Greece, and it is displayed in Bargello Museum in Florence, Italy.
Penitent Magdalene. The Penitent Magdalene is a wooden sculpture of Mary Magdalene by the Italian Renaissance sculptor Donatello. It was carved from white poplar wood between 1453 to 1455. The sculpture was probably commissioned for the baptistery of Florence. The piece was received with astonishment for its unprecedented unprecedented realism. Penitent Magdalene is a realistic interpretation of Mary Magdalene penitenting for her sins with an expression that pleads forgiveness. The Penitent Magdalene was displayed in Museo dell'Opera del Duomo in Florence, Italy. Ayun, si Penitent Magdalene ay kita naman dun sa painting na para siyang nag-please. Kasi si Penitent Magdalene ay masyado siyang high standard sa buhay. At saka marami siyang mga kasalanan at 'di ba yung expression niya parang nagpipis. 'Di ba gano'n ang tao kapag nagso-sorry? So ayun, parang yung painting na yan ay siya ay nagsisisi sa mga nagawa niyang kasalanan at humihingi siya ng tawad.
Donatello's most famous works are sculptures. In conclusion, his most of his artworks are in Renaissance arts are sculptures. In short, yung naging puwerte ni Donatello ay sculpture. Some of his famous sculptures are Saint John the Evangelist, Saint George, Bust of Niccolo Dausano, and Cantoria.
The second artist is Michelangelo di Lodovico Buonarroti Simoni, who is well known as Michelangelo. He was born on March 6, 1475, and until February 18, 1564. He is one of the most influential sculptors from the Italian Renaissance. He started his career at the age of 8 at the age of 13 when he became an apprentice of Domenico Ghirlandaio, Italy's most prominent painter. He is a painter, sculptor, architect, and a poet. He preferred to be called as a sculptor rather than a painter. And he is related to the Medici family as he was one of the artists that are sponsored and often commissioned by the family. His artwork's main subject are people and the human body, as he is interested in the human anatomy and shadows because he thinks that it was a beautiful entity that should be naked or only wearing simple robes. Kaya mapapansin natin sa most of his artworks ay mga Greek na tao na nude or walang suot o kaya mga naka-robes lang. In the Renaissance, Catholic religion and Greek mythology are connected as they represent their Christian beliefs with Greek arts. What are Michelangelo's famous artworks? The first one is the ceiling of Sistine Chapel. It was painted in 1508 to 1512. It was commissioned by Pope Julius II. And the narrative begins at the altar and is divided into three parts. In the first three paintings, mayroon itong story na una siya sa the creation of the heavens and earth, kasunod ay yung the creation of Adam and Eve, and the expulsion from the Garden of Eden, tsaka yung Noah and the Great Flood. Ang most iconic painting niya ay yung the creation of Adam. It was based on the Bible verse, Book of Genesis, verse 1 to 27, which states that, "So God created man in his own image, in the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them." This represents the breath of life with the finger of Adam and God almost almost touching, giving humanity a spark of animated life. And the other paintings on the ceiling were also from the book of Genesis. It was a fresco painting. Ang fresco painting ay the art of painting on lime plaster with water-based pigments. Ang haba ng ceiling ng Sistine Chapel ay 131 feet. As mentioned by the group 2, there was a rivalry between Michelangelo and Raffaello. As they were both working on the Sistine Chapel, kay Raffaello unang binigay ang komisyon, ngunit tinanggihan niya ito at ibinigay kay Michelangelo upang mapatunayan niya na walang experience si Michelangelo sa pagpapainting, but his artworks says otherwise, at lalong dumami ang komisyon ni Michelangelo simula noon.
The next is David. David is a masterpiece sculpture created by the Italian artist named Michelangelo in the year 1501 to 1504. Si Michelangelo ay 26 years old lamang nang simulan niyang gawin ang sculpture na ito. David was commissioned by the Opera del Duomo Museum. The Michelangelo's David sculpture inspired from the biblical story of David that can be found in the book 1 Samuel verse 17:4. It is a tale of a young shepherd boy named David who saved the Israelites by slaying the warrior giant named Goliath. Wielding only a pouch of sling that he is holding in his left hand and a handful of stone. Ang sculpture na ito ay inirepresenta ang kabayanihan sa Biblia na si David. Michelangelo's David sculpture is currently in the Accademia Gallery of Florence in Florence, Italy. David sculpture is made of one single block of marble. David has a height of 5.17 meters or 16 feet and 11.15 inches high, and has a weight of 5,660 kilogram or 12,478.12 lbs.
Pieta. Pieta was created around 1498 to 1500s. It is the most poignant visual expression. It is the depiction of the Virgin Mary supporting the dead. Kaya sinabing poignant. Poignant means to determine visual expression. Ginawa ni Michelangelo yung Pieta. Makikita ninyo doon sa sculpture na si the Virgin Mary is mournful to Jesus Christ. Kaya kung bakit iyon ginawa ni Michelangelo to create a visual expression which is mournful and grieving to his son Jesus Christ. Some representations include John the Apostle. So instead na si Jesus Christ ang hinohold ni the Virgin Mary, ang hinohold ni the Virgin Mary is John the Apostles. Si John the Apostles yung isa sa 12 apostol sa Bible. Then, some representation include also si Mary Magdalene. So instead naman si the Virgin Mary ang nag-hold sa kanyang anak na si Jesus Christ, si Mary Magdalene naman yung nag-hold kay Jesus Christ. Has inspired emotion, faith, imitation through its elegant depictions. So yung mga artworks na inspired sa Pieta are Ferdinand Bayon or Circus Christi La Pieta in 2010 and Max Ginsberg War Pieta Oil on Canvas in 2007. and Marina Abramovich Pieta. So these are the pictures presented, yung mga inspired sa artworks sa Pieta. Sorry. Some of his famous sculptures are Bacchus, Tony Tondi or Holy Family, Moses, The Last Judgment, the Deposition, Pieta Rondanini. So these are the references used for Donatello and Michelangelo in our group presentation.
That's all. Thank you.